Hello everyone, very good afternoon to you all. Charles here, Frgnt, Frgnt, daily chart analysis, Frgnt mastery, etc, etc. We finally have some movement on pound CAD, 20 minutes to 4 on the 18th of February 2026 here in Milan. So what do we have? Pound CAD. Let's take a look. Let's make the screen larger and let's see what we have. So funnily enough, we were just getting done on the, pardon my alerts, and also pardon my hay fever blocked nose. Unfortunately, you'll have to deal with it if you're listening. What do we have? So pound CAD, as I was saying, this morning, just finishing up the live call, and we had price come into a 15-minute order block. That, if I bring up that 15-minute time frame, was confirmed as a result of price making this lower low in the market. Therefore, as we start to make our way up that leg of which created the lower low, we are searching to identify a 15-minute order block in line with Frgnt mastery, entry criteria, order block selection, etc. So up at the highs, as I always love to preach, if I'm going to look to take a short position, I want to be shorting from as high as possible within my point of interest. Now, order block confirmed as a result of that lower low. However, wasn't entirely convinced to be looking to take a position from the area as a result of price coming into those previous weekly lows. And to be quite honest, I was expecting price to push up slightly higher. So I had some reservations in terms of full transparency in taking this position from this order block. I had forecasted price to want to come up into that previous daily high, previous daily imbalance, potentially even tap into that 4-hour 50 EMA. And even more so, I was forecasting price to head up into that daily 50 EMA, breach it ever so slightly before then finding the reaction. And my forecast was then that I'd wait for my entry criteria, of which you can find out in Frgnt Mastery or FrgntForex.com, before looking to gain entry into that trade. Nevertheless, a good insight into utilization of alerts, into being in constant sync with the market. So what we have is price tap into our 15-minute point of interest. At that stage, we've got the confluences that we do like the area. However, it's where price rejected was my first concern. Price wicked in and gave a beautiful rejection candle indicating sells are overwhelmingly coming from that area. So point of interest potentially confirmed. And then, as you can see, or as I always like to say, if you can work it out, congratulations. Entry criteria presented itself, or more so, a guide for entry criteria. And I went down to the lower time frames, locate the imbalance just to give myself the cherry on top of the cake. And there we had it right there up at the highs. And in terms of myself, if I'm looking for a short, as I've simply said before, looking to short from as high as I possibly can. With that said, ideal short positions would have come a lot higher, allowing me to utilize my stop loss a little bit better and cover everything in the market that I feel deserved covering. Ordinarily, I didn't like this position. I did not like this area. But as I said in the live breakdown this morning, the market cares less about what I think about certain areas. It's for us to have a look at those areas and utilize the strategy and entry criteria in order to be the primary guide for our entries. Now, as I said, entry criteria, setup criteria, all satisfied. Took the short position. Again, stop loss placement, a little bit too big in my opinion in order to gain the best risk to reward ratio out of this position, but nevertheless, alerts have been signaled and I am now break even in that trade. So thank you very much for listening. I will indeed give an update on the result, but nevertheless, as per the journal, a textbook trade, not quite from a textbook point of interest, i.e., could the trade have been a lot better in terms of what I would like to wait for? Perhaps, but did that happen? No. So with the information that I was given, and as I always say, we use the facts on board to create the story. We do not talk rubbish. and create a story based off opinions, simple facts, wick rejection coming from a validated point of interest of which caused a low in the market. Therefore, we identify it. Do we have confluences to support that short position? Yes. Do we have candlestick formations in and around that area to support the short? Yes. Do we have the entry criteria to satisfy myself in order to ensure that I can trade with confluence as well as confidence? Yes. Therefore, regardless of what I thought, whether price is coming up slightly higher or not, to tap into those higher time frame points of interest by way of EMA's previous daily highs, it didn't happen. But did I miss out on the trade? No. So let that be a great takeaway, that stay in sync with the markets at all times. Understand that your entry criteria may not come from the desired point within your area. However, the key takeaway is if your point of interest is indeed correct and you do get the rejection from that point of interest, that is the point where you are called into action. So again, thank you very much for your attention. Apologies on the hay fever coming from my body. Nevertheless, I hope you are able to gain a good takeaway from the video. All the very best, and don't forget to check out Frgntforex.com to find out more on how you can take these specific entries and the intricacies that are involved. Take care, good luck in your trading journey, all the best. Charles.